Right, in our last strategy video, we went over the J2 ANZAC crush strategy and wanted to discuss the follow-up turns, Japan 3 and Japan 4, with a couple likely allied counters. Okay, this is a continuation of the discussion about a J2 ANZAC crush strategy. I've got the board set up to be at the end of the first round. For the purchases, ANZAC purchased 2 infantry and an artillery. They moved their ships up towards the US fleet at Pearl Harbor, except for the transport, which they used to secure Java and get some extra IPCs. The British moved their fleet back towards Africa. I've left that off. The battleship back to India purchased 4 infantry and a marine. That is represented by the French infantry there. And actually I forgot to fix China. China attacked Yunnan with 4 infantry in the fighter, lost 1 infantry in the process, moved everything into Qinghai and Sichuan, and built 4 infantry in Sichuan. As I showed in the other video, Japan will attack Queensland, the Philippines, and Borneo, Kwangtung, all on their second turn. I'm going to go ahead and make those moves and show the likely outcome again. In Queensland, assuming they leave it empty, you should have 4 infantry, 2 artillery, and a marine. This, with the 3 fighter scramble from the carriers, makes it so that ANZAC has less than 50% odds of attacking you back and winning. Plus, if they do, you have at least 1 transport here in 35 that could come back. Also, any troops that survive in the Philippines, I took 1 off Davao, that's the southern territory here, just to represent one of these 3 battles hitting Borneo, Manila, and Davao. You can have all of those battles supported by aircraft. They can land in Quincy or Palau. So you've got 3 more transports that can come even if you do lose Queensland. ANZAC will not have practically anything left on average unless they get really lucky. You can go in, you can mop that up and do it all over again. And basically ANZAC has 0 chance of actually holding here on round 3 or round 4, depending on how you have to do it. So the United States, I went ahead and used a purchase of 2 carriers and a destroyer and flew the fighter from eastern US to land on this carrier. On their turn, anything could happen. Assuming they go for a heavy kill Japan first strategy, you're likely going to see another heavy boat buy, probably a couple destroyers, a couple subs, maybe a battleship, another carrier, some more planes, and they will likely all stack here in 28 again. For their round 2 buy, the United States might go something aggressive, like 2 fighters, 2 subs, a destroyer, and a battleship depicted here. Left the fleet here in 28 because the Japanese, I purchased a aircraft carrier and a marine for the cruiser. Move that cruiser back up from the Carolines on round 2. And they have their giant fleet down here in 55. So what does round 3 look like? Well, on round 2, ANZAC can purchase. In this example, I've had them take Java for some extra income. So on round 1, they collected 13 IPCs. And they could use that to buy a fighter and an infantry, or 3 infantry, knowing that they won't collect very much next round. They could also buy an AA gun, since you have 6 planes right now, but you have more planes that could be coming in. They might buy an AA gun, just try to get lucky. An AA gun and 2 infantry or 2 artillery to counterattack. It doesn't really matter what they buy. You will be able to crush them on round 4. Here I've had them purchase 2 infantry and a tank for maximum defense. Over in China, China retook Yunnan, and the UK Pacific retook French Indochina, or attacked French Indochina. UK Pacific could also move this entire stack in there, which is probably the most likely thing for them to do. So as you can see, it will be very difficult to prevent China from getting their artillery and national objective bonus. You will not be able to hold Yunnan for the first several rounds. And after round 2, unlikely to be able to trade it for another round or 2. However, you will be getting rid of the ANZAC forces entirely. They may fly these fighters over to Java or try to escape. Perhaps the US puts an aircraft carrier or the whole fleet over in Line Islands at this point, try to catch some planes, or they just stack up and try to take as many of your troops with them as they can. On round 3, you can move all of these troops from the Philippines and the Carolines down here to attack Sydney, or to just reinforce Queensland. One option now is to build a minor industrial complex here in Queensland. Alternatively, you can pivot and go for the Money Islands. This is actually one of my preferences, is to go ahead and pick up at least Celebes and take back French Indochina with a couple of infantry and drop some guys off in Guangxi to keep pressure on China. So I'll probably use 2 or 3 transports to do that while reinforcing Queensland. However, there is a third option, which is to actually pick up your troops from Queensland, spread out and take these islands, the Dutch New Guinea, New Britain, and Solomon Island chain, as that is worth a +5 national objective for Japan, and deprives the US of any potential air bases or landing spots. Given the setup that I was showing, a very strong option is to take the 3 transports that are here. You can take one and attack Java, another one and take Sumatra, deploy your fleet around like this so that you aren't being threatened by the Air Force over here. This US sub may still be here, may be gone. You can attack it with a destroyer instead if it is there, so you don't get convoyed. And bring the transport that was here through this area to take New Britain. Use the Marine to take New Guinea. So the 3rd transport to land in Solomons, and then one of the transports here at the Philippines to take Dutch New Guinea, and the last one to take Celebes. The transport that was up here, I brought down to French Indochina. So you can take all of those back. You secure the Money Islands, unless the UK fleet is back over here. But a lot of times they'll be over here supporting Egypt. So you should have a lot of room. And honestly, taking the Money Islands is such a big boost to income. You can even put your sub down here to convoy ANZAC that even though they can build some more ground units, they aren't an effective, they aren't building up anything to threaten you with. And at this point, however, with our fleet so spread out, the US would be able to move back into C Zone 27. We do have quite a bit of income from last round we can use to build some supporting fleet back at home, which I recommend rather than the industrial complex in Queensland. But if you do build an industrial complex in Queensland, you're going to want to obviously keep all of your ground troops there. The US being able to go into C Zone 27 means you will have to ball your fleet back up, but that's not a big deal. As you can see, I've tried to keep most of the units within 2 or 3 spaces of 55. And if you're able to, perhaps the UK is not as aggressive, you could even try to take Malaya here and have a harbor there and get those ships back. Regardless, you'll have 4 aircraft carriers with full of planes, 2 battleships, 2 cruisers. You should have at least 2 destroyers. So you've got a very strong force here. You can build an air base on New Guinea or Solomon Islands next round just to really hold this position. All of these ground units as well, you're unlikely to be losing more than 1 or 2 of them, and so they can just swing back here, land in Queensland. You've got probably 5 or 6 transports full of units, and that will be able to withstand the ANZAC counterattack. As far as the US coming into support, really their only option is to move down here off New Zealand in order to actually get planes into New South Wales. They would have to be flying from a carrier on the Line Islands territory. And so they'd either need to build an airbase there or position their fleet there. As I mentioned in a previous video, you could build a harbor there on the Line Islands, and that would probably be a good move for the US at this point if they wanted to get their fleet all the way down here. But their fleet is not yet strong enough to withstand the Japanese Navy. I've got to chip this up just to make it legible. So minus the ships, focusing on the ground at this point, this would be your round 4. Round 3, we went out, we took the Money Islands. Round 4, we're coming back. Assuming they didn't move more than 1 unit into Queensland to recapture it, then you should have not really taken any losses here. You'll have, I've got 9 infantry, 3 artillery, 2 marines, and ANZAC is up to, I think there's a extra infantry on here actually, sorry. Is also at 9 infantry. They've got the tank, they've got 3 fighters, 2 artillery, and 2 anti-aircraft. And next round, you'll have 4 carriers worth of planes. You can also have those bombers sitting in the Carolines, and you will have very good odds to capture Sydney. Okay, so I put that into the battle calculator. We're just going to run 5,000 just for fun. I didn't include, you could actually have at least 1 cruiser, probably 2, and up to 2 battleships bombarding as well. So if we do that, we should get 100% odds. This is on round 4. I'm going to add, if somehow America was able to get 2 carriers worth of planes in to land on New South Wales, you still have 96.6%. Now, what are some downsides? Well, we know China has been largely left unchecked. We do have this large stack of infantry and artillery built up in Anhui on round 2. They moved into Sichuan and Yunnan and recaptured those, and the UK went in really hard and reinforced Yunnan, so we won't be threatening either of those soon. On round 3, what I like to do is buy complex in Kwangtung. This is a little, I don't see this very often, but there's a harbor there, so you can actually build an aircraft carrier here. Occasionally that is very useful. And then you can start shucking infantry and artillery between Japan and Jihol or Japan and Gyeongsu, depending on where you want to get to. Even just 2 transports there really helps you kind of hold this inner perimeter, make sure you're holding Kwangtung. As soon as your transports down here are freed up, you're going to be able to control the coastline very, very easily. And you can really make one of 2 decisions at that point. Option number 1 would be to kind of ignore the Chinese interior and push hard for Malaya, and then use these sea zones 132 at Malaya to control the Eastern Indian Ocean, threaten India, make the UK Pacific pull back troops, and really hold the line there instead of being able to freely reinforce Yunnan from Burma. The nice thing about that is that it's also 3 movement away from Queensland. And you can also move transports back and forth between Malaya and Kwangtung. So you can have kind of a double transport shuck set up between Japan and Kwangtung, Kwangtung and Malaya. And eventually you may find yourself in a position to build something in French Indochina as well, but my experience is build a industrial complex in Kwangtung and build an industrial complex in Malaya. Malaya is like around 6, around 7 by usually. That's the strategy. Well, thanks again for watching my video. Please comment if you have any questions, or go to axisandallies.org, the forums there. We would love to see some more players playing Path to Victory.